start a clinical trial of the locally made COVID-19 vaccine early next year. Minister for Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Monica Musenero, told the media that there are 4 types of COVID-19 vaccines in the offing. She was addressing the media on the 2021 Science and Innovation Week. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit the world in 2019, they have emerged global remedies to curb the spread of the virus and find a cure to the pandemic. African countries were left out to rely on donations. However, Government of Uganda research on has just been revealed as the country will carry out clinical trials early next year. There are 4 types of vaccines in the final stages being processed, with several tests on animals ongoing. And meanwhile, the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation has organized inaugural Science and Innovation Awards to recognize outstanding innovators to support their realization. This competition is to be conducted in this Innovation Week starting today and will be ending on the 9th of November 2021. This Science and Innovation Week will be utilized to create awareness of scientific think tanks about the frameworks in place to make sure science is catalyzed.
International stories, and we will pick it up from our first story, where we did see at the COP26 Biden comes out to attack China and Russia leaders for missing the summit. Now, US President Joe Biden has criticized the leaders of China and Russia for not turning up for the COP26 climate summit. In speech on Tuesday night, Biden said climate was agitating issue and China walked away, adding that the same thing with Russia and Putin. Neither Russian President Vladimir Putin nor Chinese leader Xi Jinping also are at the summit. Now, both countries, however, have sent delegations to talk to the talks with due to return for 2 weeks until 14th November. China is the world's largest emitter of carbon dioxide, following US, Russia, the 5th largest after the EU and India. Now, more than 120 leaders turned up for the conference in Scotland's largest city, countries where we've seen already major deals and including global pledges to slash methane levels by 2030 were announced. Well, now Israel launches missile attack near Syria's Damascus. Now, Israel has launched an aerial attack with a number of missiles targeting an area on the outskirts of Syria's capital, Damascus. Syria's state TV said early on Wednesday, citing a military source. It also added attack resulted into some material damage. There was no immediate comment from the Israel officials. At least last Saturday, Israel also fired missiles towards the suburbs of the Syrian capital although they were intercepted by Syria's air defense. Now, on October 14th, Israel also raided an Iranian position, central Syria base, killing 9 fighters allied to the Syrian government. Now, the attack came days after Syria accused Israel carrying out attacks in the country's south part. Now, back to Africa. Ethiopia comes out to declare a nationwide state of emergency, where we see cabinet has declared a nationwide state of emergency effective immediately, and authorities in the Addis Ababa told citizens to prepare to defend the capital as fighters from the northern region of Tigray threaten to march towards the city. The state of emergency is aimed to protect civilians from autocracy and also being committed by the terrorists, the TPLF group, in several parts of the country. The state-affiliated Bana Broadcasting reported on Tuesday, referring to the Tigray People Liberation Front, which has been fighting for the federal government for years. Now, the 6-month state of emergency allows, among others, for roadblocks to be established, transport services to be disrupted, curfew to be imposed, and for military to take over certain areas. Anyone suspected to have links with the terrorist groups could also be detained without court warrant. Wow. Clearly, the escalation in Ethiopia is getting out of hand, if I may use such a word. I don't know
Well, it is pressurizing because if you're having such a conflict that is leading to a state of emergency in Ethiopia, as we speak, Sudan is also in the same state. Now imagine what that impact has on both countries, but also neighboring countries. You do have Eritrea, you do have Kenya, you do have South Sudan that are neighboring directly to these two countries. And then it also causes you to think, in terms of refugees, what does this mean? Because now people have to run for their lives, and where are they going to go to? Of course, Uganda is one of the most hospitable countries on the continent and also within the region. This could mean that we're going to see more refugees coming in.
We already have a number of Ethiopian refugees in this country. We have a number of them from Sudan. But I always talk about the African Union. I think it is time that it's not all about coming together and discuss a few things, but how best do we prevent this from happening? Because I greatly believe, look at what happened when the AMSOM forces went to Somalia. At least there is a bit of peace there. So if we can have a steady force ready to counter anything, then I think we can prevent these from escalating to such levels in time.
Well, today is Wednesday, and in a special way, we get to celebrate Women on Wednesday. It's called Woman Crush Wednesday. So I'd like to find out first from Felix Nkunda, who is your legislator woman crush today?
That would be Winfred Kiza, the former leader of the opposition in Parliament. Now I think she's doing her work, probably as legal consultant or something. I think she did man the House well when she was head of the opposition. I believe she did a good job in terms of negotiating and also being able to steer the wheel in terms of the government in waiting.
Okay, all right. Robert Kirabo, your woman crush Wednesday today legislatively?
Well, Honorable Robina Nabanja Kakumiro, woman member of Parliament and the current Prime Minister. Reason is, I remember when she was appointed to that docket, there was a lot being said. And of course, over time, I think to me she has proved she's worth her salt. She's not timid. She's determined to ensure that there is sanity in that office. An office we've known as Ugandans that for a longer time, there's been so much of corruption and mismanagement. And I think she happens to be the first Prime Minister, personally, I've seen, who is so much hands-on. We had the likes of Dr. Uganda. He was a man who was a bit relaxed, and, you know, we had the Super Minister, Mama Mbaba. You also remember a gentleman who would not go down to get his feet wet, but Nobina Nabanja will be everywhere. And also her element of humor. We've seen her on various occasions singing Chibonge. She's also very, in terms of giving. She's given. I think she makes a unique character.
103 years of age. Born in 1917, on November 5th, she was shy of celebrating 104 years. She passed away on October 28th this very year. And she's celebrated for one, her mentorship, her inspiration, and of course breaking the barriers of representation as far as legislation was concerned. 1962 is when we got our independence, and of course it was marred by men, if we can say that. But upon elections, she was the first woman to be elected as a member of parliament then, and she sat on the Legislative Council. Of course, they hadn't come this whole regional one MP for every constituency and all under the current regime NRM, but through her presence, you know, in such a powerful place in this country, it has surely led to recognition and appreciation of the contribution of women as far as democracy and politics is concerned. And so the government chief whip, Honorable Thomas Tayeba, also hailed her for inspiring future generations of women. All the women in yesterday's parliamentary second sitting also did accolade her for being an inspiration to who they are today and where they are, especially in parliament. Speaking of which, Minister of Parliament Among Betty was also in this sitting, and she had one or two things to say. Let's take a listen.
She was still advocating for emancipation of women. And I want to say the journey has not been in vain, because the history of women's emancipation in this country has been that of achievements amidst challenges. But today we boast of 47% of women in cabinet. And if you look at this desk, and when you go to cabinet and you see the ministers who are women, you will agree that they are holding very important portfolio that people would think women would not hold. Minister of Energy, people would think oil and energy are for men, but we have a woman. Before that, we had a woman. We have a woman Minister of Health just behind me here. That's a man. Now the man wants to claim her. Can you imagine? We have the Prime Minister who is called Majegere. Seated here, a woman. The Vice President chairs cabinet. We are defining the agenda of this country. Speaker, you are seated there. You've done wonderful as our speaker. And before you, we had Right Honorable Kadaga, who has been a speaker for 10 years, deputy speaker for 10 years. When you go to Makerere University now, Department of Law, women are more than 60% as students of law. You go to engineering department and some of the Department of Technology, they are being aided by women. That is education. So I want to thank Honorable Florence.
We will wait for you at home.
Conclude. Let me conclude. For cutting all the thorns for us who are seated here today to enjoy the struggle that her and others stood firm to define the agenda for today. I want to offer on behalf of the women of Uganda, the person who holds the ministry that defines the women's policy, Ministry of Gender, to say we condone with the family, we condone with the women, and we condone with the government and the people of Uganda. May your soul rest in peace.
Indeed, may the soul of Florence Alice Lubega rest in peace. Those are the words of Amongi Bete, who is the Minister for Labor, Social Development and Gender. We get to celebrate these women with the song for the day, which is a very interesting song, courtesy of DJ Mwesi. So we take a short commercial break with our song for the day. Hour, we're definitely going to be talking about the express toll fees that we are yet to pay when it eventually matures. But before we get into that, the poll question for this morning. Okay, the one question that people will be asking themselves in this regard is that is it compulsory for every Ugandan, or the ones that have different number plates? Government officials will have a free pass in regards to this. Anyway, we'll answer or get an idea of that answer in the next segment in our 7 o'clock hour. For the newsreel, for now, stay with us.
Our Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning to you once again. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda. In case you have just turned your knob, this is UBC. My name is Priscilla Nalwoga. You do have 4 minutes past 7 a.m. this morning. Joining me for the newsreel this morning is Robert Kirabo and Felix Nkunda. And as we get into a newsreel which is related to our poll question this morning, we want to have your mind. We want to have you say something in regards to what we're yet to discuss.
And our poll question is, how sustainable is a road toll fee for Entebbe Express Highway? How sustainable is the road toll fee for the Entebbe Express Highway?
Okay, we do have Minister for Transport and Works, General Katumba Wamala, having come out and shared with us the gazetted rates that will be for the toll collection, or get collections as others are calling it, when the Express Entebbe Highway is officially allowed to function and start collecting fees. And of course there's different classification of vehicles that has been shared, and the charge is going to be per single access. And single access means that if you're going to use Entebbe Express Highway to enter into Impala or Entebbe town for that matter, you get to pay this fee. If you want to return through the same route, you're going to still have to pay this very same fee again so that you can access the rest of the Entebbe Express Highway. And so looking at the charges for the different classifications of vehicles, you do have motorcycles, the ones that are 400cc, they will be charged 3,000 shillings per single passage. You do have light vehicles that will be charged 5,000 shillings per single passage, and those are saloon cars. You do have medium goods vehicles that have an axle of 2 to 3 axles, will be charged 10,000 shillings. Now you do have large good vehicles as well as buses that will be charged 15,000 shillings, and the larger goods service vehicles that have 6 axles plus will be charged 18,000 shillings per single passage. And this is where we are right now. Earlier on in the year, around June, July, of course, we were waiting for the company that was supposed to be handling this toll collection fees, that was supposed to be managing this whole process. And there's a French company that was contracted, and they made some commitments which we're not yet seeing. Well, at least for me, I use the Entebbe Express Highway quite often, and I've not yet seen. But let's first go back to the genesis of why the Entebbe Express Highway is having toll centers where we are going to be required to pay for as Ugandans. Why are we paying for this road in the first place, Robert?
Thank you, Priscilla. Just to look at history, it was in 2012, if you remember very well, when government came up with a desire to have this Entebbe Express Highway. And we didn't have the money as a country. So we had to go to our development partners, that is the government of China, to the Exim Bank of China. This road was estimated to cost, that is $476 million. That is about 1.19 or 1.19 trillion Uganda shillings. And out of this money, we were to borrow, that is 350 million US dollars. That is about 875 billion Uganda shillings. So this is the money that we are supposed to borrow from the China Exim Bank to enable us to construct this road. Now remember, this was to be paid in a period of 40 years at an annual interest rate of 2% every year. So this is a road that was constructed on a loan, because there are roads that come as grants, that these development partners offer us a grant. But here, when seeking for monies, it was agreed. And these monies were supposed to be gotten from, all the state was supposed to be serviced from the monies that were going to be paid from the road fee. So when you pass, you pay, and a period of 40 years, we believe we will have paid this money. But since the commissioning of this road, that was in, on the 15th of June, 2018, we had not collected a single penny.
Okay.
And when you look at our debt burden as a country, of course, we know we've had loans, and now experts in managing that debt will tell you that it has accumulated to every Ugandan being owned about 1.5 million. So at such a time, of course we've delayed, because most of the times the minister has been coming to parliament and saying we lack a law, we lack this for us to enable, have this. Now the company is in place, the law is in place, and it is time that we begin paying monies for this loan. So this is the background to why this particular one we have to pay for the road fee.
Felix Nkunda, doing the mathematics, given this history, if this road was commissioned 2018, it's supposed to be operational, now we are literally 3 years behind on the 40-year repayment plan for our loan from China. That means that we're already backwards, right? Which means that they have to reevaluate and reassess the loan payment plan. Also, in regards to how many people actually get to access Entebbe Express Highway, or even use it for that matter, for us to be able to complete that payment within the framework of 40 years. Are there incentives that the Ministry of Transport and Works can actually put in place so that they can be able to collect this money?
Well, the first question one would ask themselves is, this express highway, you may have to determine the traffic on this road.
True. As
you did say. Then secondly, is it a connection road? When you connect Kampala, of course it has other, for example, I think from Busega, you have somewhere.
Yes, from Busega you can connect to Entebbe Express Highway.
Yes,
even
yes.
From Munyonyo you can
exactly
still
from
connect
Munyonyo,
to Entebbe
then
Express Highway.
Where, isn't it? Then Kajansi.
Yes.
Then later on Chitala. Is it Chitala or somewhere? Mukumba, around Nkumba. Yeah. Now the question is, what calls for traffic in these areas? Because some of these things will inform you on how able you will be, how soon you'll be able to achieve the goal.
Well, the expectation is you have not seen any taxis using this route because it's not a residential area. So that definitely reduces the traffic you're talking about.
So there's a group of road users you're not looking at, and yet maybe they're the most
continuous. Yeah.
Yes. Now, what is there? What activities, for example, in Entebbe? The major activity in Entebbe, the most major is the international airport. The question is, in terms of traffic, how many people in this country use that mean of transport?
Under COVID-19, that number has also been cut greatly.
Definitely, which was very less. Yeah. But also, initially, look at the traffic of this place, the Entebbe, the international airport. It's also still so low. It is so low compared to international airports. So low. Now, it means that the activities of the institution or the Ministry of Transport must be coupled with many other institutions. For example, you look at the institution of tourism, you may have to end up having partnerships with such other ministries for you to realize your target. But also, when you talk about, you see, the road has been having very little traffic with no pay. How about when there is need to pay?
Want the Ugandans run away and stick
because
to the
there's an alternative. If you're saying this is the only way to Entebbe, that would make sense. But the fact that there's an alternative, you get the point. So I think we must address all these other circumstantial challenges before we get to a conclusion in how we can handle this whole thing. It's a good move. But you know, as a student of project planning, I have learned over time that when you are to do a project, it's key for you to involve the intended stakeholders. Some of these things come as news. Was probably a survey done before we got into this kind of memorandum that later on, because as a matter of fact, you're looking at, everybody talks about almost $1 trillion. Can you collect it from 3,200, 3,000, 3,000, in for how long? So how do you make the community part of this? Is it just good enough for you to say that you will pay? No chibalekera, you just drop it to them. So I think the ministry still has challenges in how to make this whole project well recognized, and we call onto the will of the people who should be partners. And majorly, of course, we are talking about road users. There are also categories of people who can't use the road, like when you go to motorcycles.
Borders cannot use the road.
And
pedestrians are not allowed to use the roads.
So all these things, because you know there are no stopovers on this road, there are no bus stations. So these are all limiting factors on how quick this will be realized. And the fact that you talked about they're behind time because you have been using the road for how long now?
Okay, all right. Well, the Ministry of Works and Transport, their mandate is to provide reliable transport. And if we know that in Uganda, road transport is by far the largest means of transport that we use as a country. And the road is here, but we've been using it and accessing it. However, Felix did touch base in terms of this money. Is it affordable in the long run for a normal Ugandan to actually afford to use the Entebbe Express Highway for single passage? And that means that if they're going to do a to and from, if you're having a saloon car, that's going to cost you 10,000 shillings out of your pocket for using this road.
First, I think even before I get to that, we must look at what are the benefits for me to use this road. Because we must understand that Uganda has a very increasing rate of traffic congestion, and annually it's estimated to be at about 4.5%. How this traffic jam grows in our country due to increased cars on our road. And with the express highway, it is believed that it will be takes someone 30 minutes from Kampala to Entebbe compared to 120 minutes if you used this other road.
The main road.
The main road. Second, we must understand that our airport on daily, the traffic is about 1,000 people move through this airport. 1,000. But also Entebbe is a hub of activities. Mostly when we look at the leisure sector, there is so much that is happening in leisure. In hotels, we have our main zoo is in Entebbe. But also in terms of, if you notice, accommodation. This is one of the areas a certain group, certain class of people would long to be staying. And indeed, if you go to Entebbe, it's one of those clean cities, you will see that there's a class of residents in Entebbe there. So that alone will answer why actually I believe that this could in one way be an affordable reason. If you're on time, we must accept that many Ugandans today, because of this jam, would look for a safer passage. And this road will provide this safer passage. If you're going to the airport, if you have an emergency, that is why the minister was clear that the presidential convoy and emergency vehicles will not be paying on this road. So, to me, I believe that it is your desire that will enable you to pay. Talking about affordability, Priscilla, over time, Ugandans, there are many things we thought they can't afford. But if need be, say you're going for a job interview, Priscilla, you're going to take 120 minutes. Here you're going to take 30 minutes. Your time bad. I believe this is fairly affordable. And the good thing is the minister said after 1 year.
So in short, you buy time.
Yeah, you're buying time in short. And even, or a meeting where you've woken up late, or sometimes there are so many emergencies where you feel you cannot stomach the jam. That is why sometimes you've seen even people park their cars and jump on borders. So this is going to be revised after a period of 1 year to see how the public is responding to. But by and large, I want to believe that the reason someone is going to use this express highway is because they really need to use it. My only problem, like you've rightly said, that even people are not paying, but they are not using this express highway. This is what the ministry, and this is it, Egris company, the French-based company, must address. Why want people using this express highway? One, issues of security. How do we make this express highway very secure? If you've used this express highway when it is late, Priscilla, you know what it means. You drive, some places there's no light.
Yes, we've had stories of people actually being killed.
Yeah, frequent murders, shootings. People will tell you, I can't use that road. I'd rather go at night. During the day it's okay, but night you'd rather stick to the main road. Yes. Then other issues, there are some services that you were told, for example, fuel. This is a lane you'll enter, and maybe you can't. have a stopover.
No, but for the
some
fuel,
of these
no,
things.
Kirabo, we have express highways in other countries, and
Yes,
Felix,
but
you have traveled. There's not a petrol station on an express
So
highway.
there's some
ceases to be a
there's
highway
some
if it has-
certain things we must ensure that we put on this express highway.
Like
One
what?
person was telling me, in case your car breaks down, yes, it's a highway, but these are things that sometimes people may be afraid of to use. So if we address these issues, we carry out a sample and find out why haven't people been using this express highway even though it has been free of charge. There's some concerns that if we address them, they'll beef up traffic on this express highway.
Well, we can't say why, because one, it's not a compulsory or route for transport. It's an optional route for transport to them that will need the convenience of getting to either side, either into the heart of the city or onto the other end of Entebbe without going through the cumbersome jam. You have talked about other services that could be attractive to for people to use this route. The purpose as to why it's an express highway, and Felix, what has been your travel experience in other countries on express highways?
I think even it's covered in the name itself. It must be an express, and must be able to address the challenges that some of them Robert has been saying. But unless, actually, as you called it, if you want to buy time, if you want, like, if you have, it's an alternative way of finding yourself where you want to be, away from all these jams. Now, you're simply you're paying for conveniency. You're paying for the convenience that comes with this, you know. However, I know for a fact that actually when you go to some countries, even not far, just in Nairobi here, you notice that some of their highways, you you miss one point, you're dead. And something with this,
cost you.
definitely. So it's for a particular class, and that's why you don't have taxis on it. Because at the end of the day, it is not, doesn't have townships even around it, you notice. Yeah. But it gives you an opportunity also to create, because you see this whole thing of jam. Remember what Entebbe Road used to be like, honestly, for some of you have traveled on that road for the last 3, 4, 5 years.
You count your 3 hours of
That's the thing.
bedtime.
But now it's very, very minimal, and it's a good thing. And now it also fits in well with the plan of the flyovers they're trying to do around town.
We do have the Kampala flyover that is under construction right now.
And then the beautiful thing is that it also has a linkage with the Northern Bypass as well. So it's a good thing, as a matter of fact. The only worry is the inclusion. Questions will come up from the Wananchi that, how about they're being left out and all that. But as a matter of fact, I think if all of us, and more majorly people who use road transport, come to understand that it's not an option, an everyday option. It's only for when you, in fact, when the minister said emergency, I think people should use it more for those purposes that really you really need to use it. But short of that, because actually you notice that it also has particular speed limits. You get it. You're not on the express highway and you're driving 20 kilometers per hour. It's 80 and above. Now that means that some things are not possible on that kind of road. It means that you may not have a petrol station, as Robert was asking, or a bus stop or what, because of the kind of road. Actually, there's a road we were on somewhere far from here. And you had to drive not less than 180 kilometers per hour. The moment you just go below that, you cause it, and you're fined. You're fined for driving. So this particular road serves a purpose that is different from our normal. So it should be used for people who have the will to serve the same, to apprehend to the same sort of purpose.
All right. Robert, you talked about insecurity. You talked about necessities such as lighting. Honestly, at night it's very, very difficult. And you know, with the buzz in between and the light coming from the opposite lane, it does actually affect road users. But implementation of such incentives can actually attract more people to be able to use the road.
Yeah, actually, if we can guarantee the safety
of
this road, the rest will be fine.
Okay.
But guaranteeing the safety, because the biggest fear is safety. We have not had any other story away from this express highway, from the insecurities. We have had people being killed there. Their signposts are being stolen every day. Even the sideway rail metals have been taken, some of them. And also, the signposts there, I think, need to be upgraded.
That is true, because my experience when I was using it most recently, the signpost is a little bit farther away from when you actually need to make your turn. And so if you have to decide to make a turn, then there's actually no signpost at the diversionary routes that appear. You've left it behind. So either you have to memorize that this is the one going to Entebbe, this one is the one going to Kampala. Otherwise, you will end up making a mistake or causing an accident because of the speed ranges also that are on the express highway.
I've had a problem, and for me, my particular problem is with this one signpost that has rainy day, go slow. And I'm thinking, it's damn hot. These signposts elsewhere in the world, they change. They have their temperatures, and they're like digital. They will tell you the weather is hot now, you may not drive because of this. But this one is constant. Rainy day, slow down.
Yes, so you do the mathematics. If you're passing by on a rainy day, that's when you slow down. Common sense.
So it's meant for the rainy days.
Now that Ugandans are going to be paying, I think rightly said Felix and Priscilla, that now that the payment is going to commence, we need value for money. That this French company has not just
value
come
for
to
money when you're paying it.
You're paying a loan.
You're paying a loan, but of course, as I'm servicing this loan, I, the person paying this money, I must see value for money. Value for money in terms of lights being given there. Value for money, improved deployment. Because much as it's an express highway, you know the nature of cars we drive in Uganda. Someone's car will have to break down and they will need help on this. So how have we ensured safety, the deployments there? We need also to improve the road furniture, like you've talked about. These signposts also need a great improvement when it comes to the express highway. But also more sensitization. The times I've used the express highway, I've noticed a lot of people who've lost direction.
Exactly.
I don't know why. Most of the time,
no, it's really the
you find a lot of people who've lost direction.
Yes.
And you wonder, boss, this side.
Like the golf course?
The golf course, yes.
Man, someone was saying that if you've not done S6, don't drive around.
No, by the way, that's very true. Even me, the first time I needed to interact with that place, I had first park and first watch.
You first let all cars go.
Okay, the ones who are going to,
taking this side.
All right.
But then I think the mistake is not for the driver now.
Yeah.
Road usage must be clear.
Yes.
It shouldn't need
otherwise
interpretation.
It's going to beat the purpose. If it's an express highway, I'm in a hurry.
And you have to think a lot.
I get in from
But I mean, you're driving.
You get in trouble.
That's the thing.
And then there's a speed limit, 50 and 100. So if we do not put this in place, then value for money, people will not go for this lane.
Okay.
But if we make sure these are well dealt with, a person knows, yes, if I'm going through the express highway, it will take me 30 minutes, contrary to the 120 minutes it has been taking me.
All right.
And I'm guaranteed of my security. So let's not just have a French company benefit from all this, then later
they're not benefiting. They help us. They're
helping
us to manage our debt.
This is not.
They're helping us to do the toll collections because they have experience more than we do, and because of the kind of technology that is being deployed at these gates is one that is manageable by them, not us. Otherwise, it should have been an easy thing for.
Actually, we even remember some members of parliament were saying, have the technology, have the Ugandans man it. But however, they later said after 2 years, 3 years, this were expected to hand over.
That is the expectation. We have seen it with when it comes to our national permits. When we had which company was First Technologies? Yes, after some years they've handed over back to government, and it's now being run by a different entity altogether. But also away from the insecurity and all these challenges, let's look at the positives that are coming with such road networks in the country. The connection of transport, road transport around the major cities, major towns within the area code is actually improving trade. It's giving a lot of access to people without necessarily having to go through the direct routes. And I think this is bringing more connectivity and increasing the trade and the economy, boosting in at the end of the day.
Yeah. And when you look at such infrastructure development coming in a country, these are true indicators of socio-economic development. I mean, if they ask you what are the characteristics of development. The first thing you say, infrastructure. Then you say communication. Then you break down communication to road communication. It also means that we are increasing our capacity in terms of how we can handle internal growth, and that directly trickles into aspects like of tourism. As a matter of fact, people who come to the country must be able to appreciate ease. When you come to Uganda, like I was using the bypass at the point of Kalere to Gaza Road. It was lovely. It was a lovely experience. I drove for less than 20 minutes from town to, it was just a good experience, you know, to deal away with, and it was prime time, it was rush hour, and you notice that the jam had really reduced because people were having a flyover, all these things. Now all that connects into most of those major, at least we have been able to come through with them. We have seen road connections even in townships. You have seen the likes of Kabusu up to Entebbe.
The jam in Tinda has reduced
tremendously because they have done the
jam used to give me a headache.
You know, now you
but
have
now
very many
you don't
roads.
have to worry about it here.
Well, when you talk about infrastructure development, I think the government has not defeated us in terms of the investment we are putting as Ugandans. It also puts encouragement for some of us who are taxpayers, away from the other challenges and what. It's motivating for countrymen to pay taxes when they see some of these infrastructures are in place. Imagine people who go to, because the kind of people who use the Entebbe airport are probably a particular level of livelihood. Now, ease is key. Comfort is key, but imagine sitting in a jam, you have a flight, then you jump on a border with a suitcase, then you're carrying a case.
Then you have to worry about an accident, so then there are those road misusers.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I think for me, away from all the other things, the issue of road network, and not only, by the way, in Kampala, you've seen, some of you travel a lot around the country, you've seen from Koboko to Kisoro to where.
Country, we are doing better in terms of road
and I think it's getting better in Kampala. I know for a fact because I'm a Kampala born, I'm a city born, and I know that what used to be
it's not what it
10 years ago, 20 years ago, in Rubaga we don't have the soil. I've not seen a road that has none.
You're not better than us in Machindi of late. We even have traffic lights. The road
by the way, talk about actually we're
putting out our bragging rights
in our gates.
Traffic lights in Machindi.
By the way, traffic
everywhere.
lights in Machindi.
Good roads and good roads.
Honestly.
Now there's value to pay for
Yes.
someone. I think for me one of the points Felix has brought out very vividly, and that is it is a motivator. It is a motivator because the infrastructure is very clear. It enables the development of an economy, but on individual basis. For me, like when I praise, I'm happy about Machindi. So I feel the need to pay my tax. Because I'm
that in Machindi 5% Mamba in road.
Nevertheless, the focus is on the road, not on what people are selling on the road. Good morning, Uganda does continue. Of course, at the end of the day, improved infrastructure is equal to improved service delivery and improved economy at the bigger spectrum. So we are thankful for all that is coming through the Ministry of Works and Transport as well as UNRA, and using transport within especially the heart of the city. At least I can't wait to see how the Kampala flyover is going to ease middle town traffic and redistribute it to the other divisions of Kampala. Away from that, we now turn our heads to the newspapers and what they are saying this Wednesday morning. Later on, we'll be looking at traffic. Marlon Kenyana will not be joining us this morning, but she will be with us tomorrow. Of course, at 8 o'clock exactly, we are going to be having Robert Kirabo hosting Good Morning Uganda agenda. Stay with us.
Bills using Airtel Money. Make any bill payment within a month with a minimum of 5,000 Uganda shillings and get 10 minutes free Airtel to Airtel calls valid for 24 hours. Dial *185*4# or use the My Airtel app to pay for water, buy yaka, pay TV, and so much more. Terms and conditions apply. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
tutandise ne meeza ejjuddeko ebirungo ebya buli kala kakati nonjagala wekkaanyi kabaka yajja okuva ku saidi omukimumbaasa akutte mujolo bano be bayita bakakujje wabula kyonna kyagenda okukola mukama yamanyi kagenda mu kaseera kano yajja bambi n'asooka akwata ebbakuli n'ateekamu buli kimu kyonna ky'omanyi ekiyitibwa ebirungo njagala wekkaanyi kakano bwebityo bwe badde ebyolwaleero eruda nga bagamba ngenda kusaba olindirire ekijjulo makeke bakabulaza bonna mubayite ne kabaka n'asembera okaggala mukama abankuumire.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
It is a bright morning and I know less excuses for you to get to your place of work late. Usually rainfall is an excuse to some people, but today make sure you're on time to deliver the services necessary. For us here in Good Morning Uganda, it is a culture, a tradition that we always keep time, and at exactly 33 minutes past the hour of 7, it is time we look at what is trending in the print media this morning. I have the New Vision, Felix has the Daily Monitor and the Daily Nation. A very big headline there, that is Onek Nabanja clash deepens while minister is in discipline. That is the Prime Minister says there. But also border riders among suspects. That is when it comes to the bombings. However, the picture is of a steed motorcycle, which is not a border. But that is regarding the New Vision today. Then education. We look at public universities teach for 1 month. That is, but we will be discussing this later. Also, we look at roads. Government sets toll charges for use of express highway. And also still in the New Vision, we look at the education bit of it, where there is a study material, Senior 3 Biology, Chemistry, Chemistry, Geography, and Senior 2 English are inside there. Then science teachers quit UNATU. What caused the split? Well, the New Vision gives you more of that, why they decided to come up with their own organization that unites science teachers away from the national organization that brings all of them together.
Now in the Daily Monitor, Nabanja Onek set to meet today, and why Onek accuses Premier for doing his work, threatens to resign if issue isn't settled. But I don't know, why do you threaten to resign? Just resign.
You have to give reasons why you're going to resign.
You've already given the reasons in it. Just leave, man, and you see if he won't get someone.
No.
Nabanja says she hasn't seen the letter. I love that. That's why I love Nabanja. Says no place for lazy ministers in government. Yeah. Okay.
And has been there since 2013 in that docket now.
President Museveni has reportedly tasked his vice Jessica Alupo to broker peace between the feuding principals whose public fight is fodder for government critics. Dr. Besigye, 13 points of plan once in power, which year? Journalists also abuse troubling. Journalists abuse troubling, says EU envoy, and coffee mixed with Viagra floods market. How to pay for building materials in advance? The judiciary is stuck with unclaimed 26 billion bail cash. By the way, I think there's a little sensation that needs to be done on this issue, that people need to know that they're supposed to pick their bail money once they are actually acquitted.
It's easy to get.
High Court upholds election of MP Muhwezi and Niwagaba, and universities turn away unvaccinated students. That is one of the discussions Robert will be having later on in the GMU agenda. But of course, from the archives, we see a very beautiful photo of one of my most celebrated mentors or people I admire, Kabaka of Uganda, Edward Mutesa II. Then, when we were celebrating his 40th birthday. Now, also today in history, Ushenyi proposes Obote's sole candidature. Oh, so it's not a new making. George Washington lands of effort to discredit him. That is in 1777.
Politics has always been politics.
Yeah,
well, looking at the New Vision, the second page this morning, facts about HIV. 1st December will be World AIDS Day, and of course the New Vision gives you a series regarding HIV. How does one avoid contracting HIV? There is so much there for you. We look at the COVID-19 tracker, and that is a new confirmed cases 36, positivity rate 0.7, new death 2, total deaths so far is 3,217. Once again, perfect the soaps and go for the jab. That is the only way we can fight death due to COVID-19 and hospitalization plus serious illnesses. Health tips: wash your hands often with soap and water, maintain social distance of at least 2 meters, avoid touching yourself before washing your hands with soap and water. Let's go back down the memory lane. Today in history, it was on this very date, the 3rd of November, the year 1974, when Amin threatens to expel British. And also on the same date, by the year 2011, Cuba allows private sale of homes in that country.
Now in sports, Eagles open close. That is the Express there, where we see Rwadida celebrating 1 goal of the match that helped Vipers there overcome Onduparaga at Kitende yesterday. And she cranes down Malawi. Wow. UEFA Champions League, COP almost there. Liverpool eyes early progress against Atletico. And of course, in the same, looking at sports, now fencing club receives equipment, urged to be more active. Aziz Damani continue 2020 struggle hold there, but also real star, that is Sediowa desires more glory after home triumph. And Uganda go for kill as Eritrea lay in limbo.
Well, looking at the New Vision, sport for the love of sport. That is USPA, President Patrick Kanyomozi, who welcomed Raw Sports Asset into this. Then we will conduct our polls. What are they referring to? Well, the New Vision has more. There is the button, and what still, the New Vision gives you more of the details. But don't forget, Ruben will be here to give you all the insight in the world of sports. Maybe also to tell us the 5 Eritrean girls that went missing. Any update on that?
We also don't know. We didn't know that people can get missing in Uganda.
Well,
we have people missing in Japan, America.
But you see, when it comes to Eritreans in Uganda, there are so many. There are so many here. So it could be going to visit. And those that miss the Afghan girls, maybe they are now for the. There's a similarity there.
Let us look at the Daily Nation in the same way. And of course, the heading there, we're looking at M-Pesa, why you must log out before changing SIM card, and how illicit cash from, that is the South Sudan, invested in Kenya there, but also Uhuru and Ruto, and the price of quitting Jubilee. Wow. Ruling party says it will kick out rebels during its national delegates conference, and clearly the rebel in consideration for now is William Ruto. So the price he will pay for quitting Jubilee. Get yourself copies of these dailies, be able to tell or look at the stories in depth. But for us right now, we are taking you into the traffic updates.
Maybe she's taking us to a coffee factory.
for us. Take us through.
It's definitely middle of the week for Felix Nkunda. Anyway, I'm just having a general look at Kampala and the conversation that we were talking about, the Kampala-Entebbe Express Highway, and how it's actually one of the routes that is giving us a visible road network that is actually quite usable. If we are to take it from Chibuye Road, you realize that there is sort of a ring road that goes from Chibuye. It enters Busega. You get to connect to the likes of Masaka. If you want to, if you can connect, and you will come back to the likes of come back to the likes of Makere, come back to Bombo Road, and voila, you are in the heart of the city. And so there's so many alternative routes that you can use to avoid jam this morning. But we want to look at the conversation we've been having following the Entebbe Express Highway and exactly where you can pick it up from in different routes. Given the kind of traffic jam that is experienced every single morning on Entebbe Kampala Road, you get to worry. People have to either get up very early, like 5 in the morning, you must be on the road so that you can make it past Chibuye without any traffic jam. Also, because of the Kampala flyover, this jam is increasing by the day, which is a challenge for those especially that have to be in work at a particular time in their offices. So when you want to access the Entebbe Express Highway from any side that is along Kampala Northern Bypass, it's very easy. From wherever it is that you're coming through, stick to the Kampala Northern Bypass up until you get to Bulenga. And now when you get to Bulenga, there's just that road that flies over the roundabouts of Busega and Bulenga, and that is your direct connection route to the Entebbe Express Highway. And Entebbe Express Highway, of course, then gets to be the road that saves you from the traffic that happens directly on Kampala-Entebbe Road. You can see that, of course, right now where you do have Chigo Road, this is Reza, you do have Seguku Katale here, there's a traffic jam right now, and so all that can be avoided when you actually get to use the Kampala-Entebbe Express Highway. Obviously in Kajansi, especially coming in from Chitende, you get to see a lot of traffic jam entering the likes of Kajansi and onto the Kajansi roundabout on Entebbe Road, and that is definitely a challenge for people who have to go back to offices. One of the other reasons that has been continuously contributing to traffic jam is schools. The schools now that they're expected to reopen in January 2022, this traffic jam is going to double, if not triple. And so Entebbe Express Highway, you just pay 5,000 shillings a single passage, and you're good to go take your child to school in time. So it continues. You can of course access it through Kajansi roundabout and then join it. But for those of you that are coming in from Busega, you can just continue and make sure that you are at the airport in a time, and then it's going to bring you to Impala area code Olyamutundwe. That is exactly where you come up from, and also the area of Chisubi is where you come out from. Now this roundabout is actually tricky, and it's where I found a challenge recently when I was using the roundabout here, Keba Express. You get to see that there's no road signage of exactly where you're supposed to be going as far as signage is concerned on the express highway. So it's up to you to either first pause and wait for people to go a certain direction, and then you figure out that okay, that's the route I should be following, or that's the direction I should be following, because of poor signage in this area. So we do send a plea out to UNRA and Ministry of Works and Transport to be able to deal with that particular kind of challenge. And now this will lead you right into Nkumba University, and voila, you will be in Entebbe Airport within a short period of time. Looking at Entebbe Chitoro town, you get to see that there's not so much traffic jam that is building up, especially within the town trading center itself. You get to then connect yourself to what is known as the airport, and voila, you are at the airport in real time. You don't have to worry about the pressure of the traffic on the main route. As Robert Kirabo did state, you are actually buying time. So time is worth it. If it can cost you only 5,000 shillings, pay the 5,000 shillings. After all, you have to help this country live in a better state financially. So in regards to this very same conversation, no permitted on the express highway, those that shouldn't be using the express highway, and also the things that we should avoid on the express highway. The must notes are: you can't make a U-turn. There's no way you can make a U-turn, and even when you make a wrong turn, that's it. You'd have to go back to the nearest road to be able to then rejoin. So it takes you more time. Of course, there's no perverse, and that is also a given. Park or stop other than in emergency emergency times, which I also experienced. I think someone at which this road is used. Anyway, to note, pedestrians are not allowed, bicycles are not allowed, border borders are not allowed. Obviously, animals would be endangered to be in this space of the express highway. How to pay for the toll: you make sure that you have your toll cost with you, either in cash. All cash must be in Ugandan shillings, or you get to buy a toll card. Now, when you buy a toll card, they're giving discounts on the toll card. There's a 30% discount on a toll card that is 7 days. If you get to use the express highway on a daily, they have a 7-day card that gives you 30% discount, and that is for 10 routes. So if you're going to be making more than 10 routes, you can actually buy that card. It saves you money. They also do have another card that caters for a month, and that is if you're using more than 60 passages on the express highway. So basically, it's your daily route, not once, not twice, but your daily route, and you make over 60 passages through the different tolls. Then that way, with the toll card, you get to actually pay 60% discount on that toll card. So maybe if Ugandans can actually leverage on those toll cards, they will be much cheaper than paying the cash. And also, in terms of paying cash, advisably, please have the exact amount of money. If it's 5,000, have 5,000 in cash, because if it's 10,000 shillings, the machine can swallow your money and not return your balance. You will not blame the government for sure, neither the freight company. And also, it will slow down the process, because now you have to interact with someone to help you retrieve that and things like that. So best that you actually work with the actual cash: 15,000, 10,000, 18,000. So you also get to make sure that you slow down as you approach the toll booth at the speed of 20 kilometers per hour. And this signage of this speed is actually there. I got to see it myself. Hand the toll collector your cash or your toll card, and then they'll be able to help you do the transaction. And of course, obviously, you have to wait for the toll collector to hand you a receipt and your toll card back, and then it will give you passage. You also have to wait for the toll gate to open and drive through after receiving your card or your receipt back. So these are some of the things that we must be very sensitive about in regards to road usage of the Entebbe Express Highway. Now, when it comes to vehicle types, we looked at class 1, which covers motorcycles, diggers, the ones that people call diggers, that are 400cc. Those will be paying 3,000 shillings per single passage. You get to look at class 2. We'll be looking at light vehicles with 2 axles, paying 5,000 shillings. So those are saloon cars, normal cars. You do have class 3 that is looking at light vehicles with 3 axles or more, medium good vehicles with 2 or 3 axles, paying 10,000 shillings. And then you do have class 4 that is broken down into 2 parts. You do have the large vehicles and large buses that are 45 axles. Those are going to be paying 15,000 shillings per single passage. If they have to return using the same route, they will have to pay another 15,000 shillings. Then you do have another classification in class 4, large good vehicles with 6 axles and more. You get to pay 18,000 shillings. Now, as I said, there's a discount, weekly frequent user discount, 10 trips valid for 7 days at 50% discount on the toll fees, with the trips expiring within a 7-day period. So if you have a card, it will be a 7-day card period, and it gets to save you 50% of that amount. You also do have the monthly frequent user discount, which is going to be giving you 70% discount if you're using it on a daily for the month of November. You get to have over 60 trips on that route. Believe me, a 70% discount is something of a breather, and also eases transaction. You don't have to work with money. COVID-19 has taught us that we actually don't have to move with money here and there. Well, speaking of here and there, your responses to our poll question this morning. Good morning. Looking at the poll question response, if it's collected by Ugandans, the loan won't be paid. The collection will just be swindled by one of us and loan will be accumulating. Sempira in Luwelo, you say so. Okay, all right. The good news is that it's not being collected by Ugandans. So be rest assured that the French company that has been contracted to handle this business is going to do a commendable job. Good morning, family. The problem is Ugandans feel that they don't get the services worth the taxes they pay. So sure, if using the road is costly, I'm very sure 85% will boycott it since there are various options. I think government should have used indirect tax for that road, but charging per car, people will just ignore. Cricket Gargamel. Well, when you look at service provision, it's definitely going to come at a cost. And this particular express highway, as we had the conversation earlier with Robert and Felix, it's for a certain class of people. As you've stated, motorcyclists that have 400cc and above, vehicles, saloon cars, buses, trade vehicles, goods vehicles. Those are the ones that they are targeting. So for the Nyonyintono, they're not targeting that person because that person really is making bread for the day. Whatever takes them to town is to actually put food on the table for that day. And yet this class of people is a class that can actually afford to spend or to buy time, as we had termed it or categorized it. And so but then again, for those of you that have actually used the express highway, it is, and you are there, and it's definitely worth it, because sitting in jam, you're wasting time, you're getting exhausted, tired. Of course, you will be expecting someone to scratch your car. The borders are uncontrollable. The free zones are not yet activated. By the time all this comes into play, I think someone who has used these other routes will definitely be in a much better place and will have peace of mind for sure. They'll be smiling like I am smiling. Anyway, we do take a short commercial break and we'll be returning for our 8 o'clock hour, where we're going to be having Good Morning Uganda agenda.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body, because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Hello, Uganda! After bringing Kigali to its knees on energy shift to Nairobi, nothing brings out the true picture of a football derby like the Mijingo Derby. It's a derby that leaves many desiring for more. And oh yes, this is the time that the question that is frequently asked will be answered. If you own the water, we own the land. And all this will be sorted out on the 11th of November 2021 at the St. Mary's Stadium in Chitende. Join us live on UBC TV free to air and radios as we bring you action after action as the two bulls fight and we sit back and relax at the comfort of our homes. UBC TV and radios, your home of sports.
Welcome to English in a Minute. These are shoestrings. They tie up shoes. Let's see how Anna and Jonathan explain this one.
Jonathan, I'm ready for the party. How do you like my shirt?
I hope you didn't pay a lot of money for that.
Not at all. I made it on a shoestring.
I can believe it.
Shoestrings do not cost a lot. So if you do something on a shoestring, You do it using very little money. You can also use shoestring as an adjective. Someone might say, I decorated my house on a shoestring budget. And that's English in a minute.
The program lineup on UBC. Brought to you by Roofings, Strength of a Nation. You by introducing the all-new Roofings TMX 500C rebars with cut and bend surfaces. Roofings, Strength of a Nation.
Kagalino twalekedde ekyatulese tuzze tukalanga enfunda eziwerako ddala eno yeko TV Super ey'abakaguje njagala wekkaanyi ewatali kwemamaaza olwo tuba tusimbudde ne TV Super Duper wawawa era nga bakutuusyako ekiga ekyabakabejja abasajja eŋŋwaŋŋuli kwogata ne busineema obujjudde omuhabati ku $5,000 mu 15 wawawa soka blaza weefunye ekirungo kya TV Super ekijjudde obulungi ove mu baaje.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by authentically symbolic and insightful.
We should work so hard to evacuate this power.
Behind the headlines, every Wednesday at 10 p.m. with Charles Odong Top.
How to get points. Just use MTN to make calls, send SMS, load airtime, buy bundles, or pay for MTN subscription services.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Hello, Uganda! After bringing Kigali to its knees on energy ship to Nairobi, nothing brings out the true picture of a football derby like the Mijingo Derby. It's a derby that leaves many desiring for more. And oh yes! This is the time that the question that is frequently asked will be answered. If you own the water, we own the land. And all this will be sorted out on the 11th of November 2021 at the St. Mary's Stadium in Chitende. Join us live on UBC TV free to air and radios as we bring you action after action as the two bulls fight and we sit back and relax at the comfort of our homes. UBC TV and radios, your home of sports.
Grow together with one of Uganda's largest companies. Apply for MTN shares for as low as 100,000 Uganda shillings. And when you apply using MTN Mobile Money, you get 10 free extra shares for every 100 shares you apply for. Dial *165*65# or use the MyMTN app to apply now. The terms and conditions of the offer and other important information are set out in the prospectus. For assistance, visit any MTN service center or Stanbic Bank branch countrywide or a licensed broker.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios,